Hey everyone, this is Leanne from Of Love and Shiplap and the founder of That Tutorials and More. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss out on any new videos, and check the video description for a link to the That US mobile learning library app. This globally available app is designed to make our free tutorials easy to find and navigate. Everything is really nicely organized into content libraries. And there is also the option to subscribe for access to all of our exclusive content and communities, including all of our Affinity masterclasses, marketing classes, product marketing library, and so much more to come. In this quick and easy tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make these embroidered edged textured letters using some fun assets that have been created for Affinity Designer by some other creators. This is a great project to use for really any kind of text. You can use it all year round, and it's just a fun play on actual embroidering. It's a great idea for creating different types of applique-like designs or digital elements, and I actually really do love it in terms of text. I can see using this as one word on apparel for something like Christmas. You could have it say Merry. If you want to do something with parents, you could do mama or mom or mother, whatever it is. Just plenty of options of how to apply this. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first step will be to open up a new document. You can click on New Document or come to File and then New. Because I'm doing a word design, I usually do a rectangle canvas that is suitable for text. So I'm going to come down here and choose my general design size that I have saved, which is 7,000 pixels by 5,000 pixels. You can enter in your own dimensions in that layout panel, and then you can choose to save it as well. There's a little icon that pops up that allows you to save both in version 1 and version 2 of Affinity Designer. You can then also name them so that you can easily see which ones you call for whatever. You can see I have several here that I use pretty regularly between either printing or presets for designing. We always want to make sure that when we're designing, our DPI is set to 300 and our color is color format RGB/8 with the color profile sRGB IEC 61966-2.1. This is for designing. This is always the same. No matter what printer and ink you're using, when you actually are designing, this is the settings that you use. You always want to make sure to export your PNG and then import your PNG on for printing. So I never recommend printing right from your Affinity file. It's just a smarter move to export. That way you can see any issues you might have with your file, and that way you can properly adjust anything you need to for printing without making an impact on your actual design file. So once you have all of your settings set up, and do keep in mind that version 1 of Affinity Designer has a slightly different document setup, but once you have everything ready to go, click Create to open up your canvas. Next, I'm going to select the Artistic Text tool, which is the one that has the letter A. You should find this near the bottom of your your tools panel. Click on that, click and drag on your canvas, and then type in your word. So I'm going to do the word Mary. You can use really any font for this particular project, but anytime we're doing something where we want to have like a good pattern inside or photos, I really think that a nice thick block font is the best choice. So I'm going to use Franklin Gothic Heavy today. This is a system font that everyone should have without a problem. Now, because this doesn't take up my entire document, I am going to adjust my canvas. I always just look at my layer itself and see the height. So we'll just readjust this to about 1500 pixels high, and that should be perfect. We can do that by coming to File and then Document Setup. Also, you'll see the Document Setup option if you have nothing selected, and your Move tool is the option. You can see it right there in your context toolbar. So I will adjust my height to 1500 and then just click OK. Bring my text back down, and everything fits nicely. Next, you want to go ahead and download and install the Embroidery Stitches Vector Brush Set from Chris H. at 2D Game Art Guru. I believe I got that name right. I have linked it below in the video description for you. This brush set has a variety of different types of stitches that can be applied to any curve. So whether you have created that with a letter, your shape tool, your vector brush tool, your vector pencil tool, or your pen tool, you are able to apply these stitches to it and allow it to become part of your overall artwork project. I love the versatility of this brush set because even though today we're just doing like an embroidered letter look, you could also create fun quilt pattern looks using these stitches. And I already love that whole idea for tumblers and even like lettered word designs, things like that as well. So you're going to install that. If you have never installed a brush set before, all you have to do is open up Affinity Designer, click on your brushes tab, and then click on the lined menu and select Import Brushes. This will open up your File Explorer. You will select the .af brushes file, and it will automatically be added to your list. Now, I did rename mine. You can rename yours as well by having the embroidery stitches category selected and clicking on that menu again and simply choosing rename category. In addition to that, if you would like to create textured letters, so not just the stitching around the outside, but also the texture inside of the letters for the fill, then you are going to want the Stitchcraft set from the Artifacts Forge. Now, if you guys have been with me for a while, you know how much I love the stuff that Jeremy puts out. I probably have spent too much money purchasing the many different things that he offers. I usually try and take advantage of his Black Friday sale or other promotions that happen so I can get more of his fun assets. He does quite a few different types of brushes that work for Affinity Designer, Procreate, and Adobe Illustrator, as well as different style packs. So you can see here, I think that almost everything here is, yeah, all of these are different ones from different packs that he has. And this isn't even all of the ones that I have because I just haven't installed them all. But I've got like newsprint textures, I've got the Stitchcraft one, I've got his stained glass creator in here. This is some other pattern freebies that he had, gold leaf, and another pattern. I've also purchased, I believe that I have the pin creator and the vintage newspaper creator and something else. I've definitely bought a lot. I have not gotten them all installed. But huge fan of Jeremy's, absolutely one of my favorite creators for Affinity. And we're going to be using his Craft Stitches set, which has a bunch of these style packs that add texture to your letters. Okay. Same thing for the styles, by the way, as for the brushes. It's the same thing across all of Affinity. If there is something that you need to import, select the tab that it needs to be imported in. You can figure out the tab it goes in by looking at the extension. It'll say .af, brushes, palette, swatches. No, palette is for swatches, sorry, styles, assets, and then it will allow you to be imported there. Also, if you are using version 2 of Affinity Designer, like I am, you can just come to File and Import Content, and you can actually bulk select all Affinity content, whether it's styles, brushes, palettes, assets, or other, and it will install them where they belong. So that kind of saves you a step as well. All right, back over on our layers panel, select your text layer, come up into your context toolbar, which is this bar here at the bottom. You're going to click that little double arrow at the end, and you're going to select Convert to Curves. This is going to create each one of your letters as an independent character. Next, you're going to select that group, and you are going to ungroup those. This will allow us to easily manipulate our letters, and they didn't really need to be grouped anyways. I like to have a little bit more flexibility with my letters when I'm doing work on individual characters. You can keep them grouped if you want. There's not like a rule that says you have to ungroup them, but I find this easier. We are going to add our fill and our stitch edges to each of our letters. I like the idea of doing each one a little bit differently personally. So let's grab the M, and well, we can actually select all of them to start, and we'll come to styles and we'll choose our texture. In this case, I'm going to go with the Stitchcraft linen. You can see that there's leather, there's herringbone. You can see the kind of pattern that we get here. This is plaid. So some of these already have patterns, but we're really looking for the texture itself. You could choose to do the cross stitch one if you wanted, but I do think that the other one that I've already chosen is better. This is the fabric one. This is also a decent choice, but let's go with linen as I was planning. I recommend choosing the lightest color that there is, the lightest like neutral color, if you're planning on adding a digital paper in, which is what I'm going to do because I do actually want this to be patterned with different Christmas patterns for each letter. I just think that's going to look the best. So you can see the texture on here, and if you want to adjust the size of that filled texture, you simply select your gradient tool or your fill tool in version 1, and when you select that, you're going to get these little anchors and you can resize. So if we wanted bigger texture, smaller texture, you just pull on these little handle anchors and you are able to resize it. You can come back to the move tool when you're ready. Now it did adjust on all of them because we do have all of them selected. So now while we still have all of those letters selected, we are now going to come over to our stroke panel. Your stroke panel, your interface might look a little bit different from mine. If you happen to be new around here, just keep that in mind. Mac does not have the ability to dock panels right here. I do believe you can dock them on the other side of the screen though, but you can also just have them floating. And some of these are probably down in this middle section or not visible at all. If you don't see a tab like your Styles tab, which by default is over here in the middle, if you're in version 1 of Affinity Designer, come to View, and you'll find where it says Studio, and then you'll see all of your panels. It's moved in version 2. In version 2, it's under Window. And instead of there having a Studio tab, I mean it does, but different purpose, you have all of your panels right here. If it has a check mark next to it, it's open. If it doesn't, it's not. You can click on one to open it up. So just a little quick coverage there for anyone who is new to Affinity Designer. Okay, select all of your letters, come to where this says stroke. Where you see style, you are going to select the textured line style option. And then over here on color, you can make this whatever color you want. So select the open circle and choose your color choice. I'm going to go with green because I'm using some like red Christmas papers. And then I'm going to come over to brushes and I'm going to choose one of these strokes from the embroidery stitches options. If yours is not already on that, you can simply select it from the drop down. So I'm going to do this super tight stitched brush. I think that that is perfect. You can come to your stroke tab and you can adjust the thickness of that edge by adjusting the width slider. Now that green's not quite the color I was going for, so let's come back over in here and see if we can get this a little bit darker. I believe this has to do with the brush itself, so let's see. When we choose one of the other ones, it does actually do them a little bit smaller. So that means that there's a pattern embedded on those brushes. This is the first time I'm using them. Just an FYI. So we can go with the smaller ones. Or we come back here and try and adjust our colors some. The fill pattern that's in the stitching is designed to give it this nice 3D effect and the nice closeness. That's fantastic. That's really a look that we are going for, but I do prefer to have my own custom stitch color. So you would just choose a different one if that is the case. Let's see. Let's see if we try the black one. There we go. Okay. So don't choose the yellow gold ones. Make sure you're choosing the black ones. And that will allow you to have the color that we were going for to begin with. So I've got my green. I'm going to decrease the strokes a little bit in your face. It's a little big. Okay. And now I want to go ahead and import digital paper to clip into my letters. So this is a very quick project that you can do repeatedly with many words very quickly. I'm going to select my place image tool. And I've downloaded this Christmas digital paper pack from Creative Fabrica. If you are interested in digital papers, I love them for the purpose of doing things like filling letters or other types of layer projects. There is an infinite number of digital papers on the market that you can purchase. I honestly get most of mine from Creative Fabrica with the membership. It's just one of the best ways to get the most bang for your buck. So if you don't have the unlimited all-inclusive membership that they have, be sure to check the video description for a link to get started with your first month for $1. All right, so we're going to choose whatever digital paper we want to add into our letters. I'm going to start with this snowflake one. And when you see the downward arrow with the portal, I'm going to click and drag it so it covers my whole letter. Next, I want to clip this inside of the letter I want it to be applied to. I think I'm actually going to use this for maybe the M, the first R, and the Y. So I'm going to go ahead and right click and duplicate. And I'll just hide these ones, or you can drag them over to the letters you want them in. So two options depending on what kind of workflow works best for you. I'll drag them over my letters. Oops, went a little too far. My screen ran away from me. Okay. And next what we're going to do is we're just going to drag these into their respective letters. Let me get this out so you can see it just right. There we go. So make sure that when you select one in your layers panel, you can see the blue boundary box on the one that you have selected that you want to be working with. Click with your mouse on the picture, hold it down, and then drag it down so that the cursor is touching the name of that layer. In this case, it just says curve, and it will go ahead and clip inside. Now, you need to open up that little drop-down menu and select your digital paper layer that you have there. Come to the top of the layers panel to where you see opacity and then this drop-down that says normal, and you're going to choose multiply. So this is why you want to choose the lightest colored neutral tone that there is, because if you chose like a black stitching texture, then that would come through on your digital paper. By choosing the lightest tone that they have, this will ensure that you maintain the same color of your digital paper as much as possible. So you can see the nice texture look there, and we can zoom out. It looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and then drag in my other two. Once again, make sure that when you select it in your layers panel that you see that blue boundary box, that you have the correct one. Go ahead, drag so that my cursor touches the name of the layer, open up the drop down, select that JPEG layer, choose multiply, head on over to my Y, make sure that one's actually covered. There we go. And then same thing, click and drag, drop, set to multiply. And now we can bring in two more digital papers. Once again, selecting your place image tool or going to file and then place. And I'm going to do, I like these Christmas tree one. I was kind of between that and the candy cane. All right, so once again, drag and drop over top when you see that downward arrow. Oh, mine is actually inside of one of my groups. It's in my letter Y. We don't want that, so we're just going to drag it out so it's out and we can see it on top. Fantastic. Click and drag that down into my letter E. Open it up again. Select multiply from the drop down, and we can actually just duplicate it right from here And then if you want, bring it across in your canvas. You can still see the boundary box even though that layer is clipped inside. And I'm purposely showing you this because a lot of times people get tripped up when they accidentally duplicate something or add something in, and where they have selected in the layers panel, they end up putting it someplace where they didn't intend for it to be. The layers panel is always the place you want to default to if you feel like you're missing something on your screen. If you can't find a layer, if it seems like something's not visible, always look at that layers panel and check, did I accidentally put something in a group? Open and close groups to check. Did I accidentally hide something? Make sure that that's not happening. Did I lock something? Whatever it is, always give it a good double check. So I'm going to select this one and just drag it right up into my R now that it's in place. And because we had already set that one to multiply, it stays in. So now we have our Merry Letters embroidering set. This is perfect just as it is, or you can have a little bit of fun and you can choose to sort of rotate each of your letters. I think that having like one go down, one go up is a fun idea. I got two going in the same direction. Let's try that. And this way you can also individually move your letters. So if you want things to be a little bit closer, you have that option as well. And you can make any adjustments you want from here. If you want to swap out the digital papers, if you want to change the width of the stitching, if you want to change the type of the stitching, you can edit all of those different things at this point to suit what you are looking for this project. One of my favorite parts of vector design work is that nothing is considered destructive. I talk about this in our Affinity master classes about how beneficial it is that you have the ability to easily make changes. When you work with pixel or raster or bitmap, whatever you want to refer to it as, artwork, it's not as easy to make changes. It's not as flexible. I love vector artwork across the board. It's my preferred way, and one of the reasons why we teach so many videos utilizing Affinity Designer. Now, if you've done any adjustments to your canvas where you see that your letters are coming off of it, be sure to make sure nothing is selected and then select that document setup option and adjust your document size, or you can simply adjust your letter size. So if we just come down here and select all of those and then shrink them on down, we can adjust them. One thing to be mindful of when you do that, though, is that if you have not selected scale with object over here, it is going to leave your stitching in the same size it was when it was larger or smaller, instead of proportionately resizing it as you shrink down your letters or increase their size. So we can go ahead and decrease the size of that edge a little bit. I'm going to go a little bit smaller than I had it, but I'm definitely happy with those, with that like that. If you want to export the entire word, you can select all of those layers. You can right click and group them if you want, or just select them. Then come to File, Export, make sure PNG is selected from the first drop down. Where it says area, choose selection only, and that will only export your group itself. This will, once you click export, your file explorer will open and you can go ahead and save that however you would like, wherever you would like to save it. Alternatively, if you want to save each letter, you can select each letter and you can choose to file and export one letter at a time and have that letter be your only selection. If you would like to make an entire alphabet of letters, then you're going to want to choose artboards. So because we started here, you will select the artboard tool and you can just click and drag over a letter to create an artboard. Boom. You can of course adjust your artboard as well. And then you can continue to work through that. So see, our group is actually in our artboard right now. You could actually drag that outside of your artboard. So there's your artboard, and you could just grab your letter and drag that into your artboard. So now there's that one artboard. You can just select that artboard tool again, click and drag to add it. And then like we'll take our letter E here, we can just drag that right into that artboard. Always double check in that layers panel that you actually see where it says artboard 1, artboard 2, and that everything is inside. And again, when you have that artboard selected, you can easily resize. Artboards are not the default that you want to use every time you're designing. That's why I rarely show them, because there's some things that are nuanced and different in artboards that can really trip you up. Some features that don't work the same in artboards that can be a problem. This is a good example. Doing an entire alphabet is a great example of when you might choose to use an artboard. We were starting out just as a letter itself. But if you have done that step where you have all of your different artboards, you can then select the export persona, and you'll notice that every single artboard becomes a layer. They're each individual layer, and you can select export slices, and it will go ahead and export all of them individually. So that's something that will save you a quick step. And we cover all of this stuff in depth in the Affinity Designer Digital Graphic Design Masterclass. It's the perfect course for beginners because it is in depth, covers literally everything, all the little tips and tricks and hacks and different things that you can try when you are designing. You can access that when you subscribe to the Sub.us mobile learning library app. Be sure to check the video description for a link to both download the free app and enjoy free tutorials like this, and as well as subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.